The chandeliers of the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom cast a golden glow over the 10-year high school reunion. I adjusted my custom-tailored Armani suit, a far cry from the thrift store clothes I wore as a teenager in Westlake High. Back then, I was Blake Mitchell, the scholarship kid from the wrong side of town, the boy who worked 3 jobs just to afford college applications. I scanned the room filled with familiar yet strange faces. Some had aged gracefully. Others fought time with expensive procedures. At 32, I was now CEO of Mitchell Innovations, a tech company valued at over $3 billion. Not that anyone here knew that I'd kept a low profile over the years, focused on building my empire rather than social media presence. Blake? Blake Mitchell? Is that really you? The voice sent a chill down my spine. I'd recognize it anywhere, even after a decade. Amber Collins' homecoming queen, valedictorian, and the girl who had broken my heart so thoroughly I'd left town and never looked back. She approached, champagne flute in hand, looking stunning in a red designer dress that probably cost more than my first car. Her blonde hair was shorter now, styled in elegant waves, and diamonds glittered at her ears and throat. "Amber," I said simply, forcing a polite smile. "My God, you actually showed up. I honestly didn't think you would." She laughed, the sound drawing attention from nearby classmates. "What have you been up to all these years? Still fixing computers?" In senior year, I'd started a small repair business to save for college. Amber had found it amusing the poor boy with big dreams. "Something like that," I replied, unwilling to give her the satisfaction of knowing just how far I'd come. "Blake used to tell me he was going to be a tech mogul someday," Amber announced to the growing circle around us, her tone dripping with condescension. "He was always so ambitious." A few people chuckled. I recognized Tyler Reeves and Jessica Martin, Amber's old friends who joined in when she dumped me at prom publicly, humiliatingly. "Some things never change," Jessica remarked, eyeing my suit. "Though I have to say, you clean up nice." "Thanks," I said, maintaining my composure. "Life's been good." "Oh, I'm sure," Amber said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "But seriously, what do you do now? Customer service? IT support?" Each question was designed to diminish, to place me back in the box she'd assigned me years ago. I could see our old classmates watching, some uncomfortable, others amused. "Amber, don't be mean," said a voice from the edge of the group. Megan Torres, one of the few who'd been kind to me back then. "I'm just catching up with an old friend," Amber replied innocently. But her eyes held that same gleam I remembered from the night she'd told me I wasn't good enough for her future. I was about to respond when the ballroom doors opened. A tall man in an expensive suit entered, looking around expectantly. When he spotted Amber, his face lit up. He was handsome in that conventional way-square jaw, confident stride, Rolex watch catching the light. "There's my fiancé now," Amber said, waving him over. "He's a bit late. Board meeting, you know how it is." As he approached, I felt a smile, forming genuine this time. Because that board meeting he'd been at, I was the one who had called it. 3 days before the reunion, I sat in my corner office on the 45th floor of the Mitchell Tower in downtown Chicago. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city I'd conquered, a constant reminder of how far I'd come from Westlake's cramped apartments. "Mr. Mitchell, Ryan Henderson is here for his quarterly review," my assistant announced through the intercom. "Send him in," I replied, closing the file on my tablet. Ryan entered with the confident stride of a man who believed his future was secure. At 34, he was one of our top executives, handling major accounts with precision and charm. He was also, according to the social media update I'd accidentally seen last week, newly engaged. "Blake, good to see you," he said, extending his hand. We'd developed a solid professional relationship over the 3 years he'd worked for me, though we rarely socialized outside the office. Have a seat, Ryan. How's the Westbrook merger coming along? For the next hour, we discussed business projected earnings, potential issues, strategic moves. Ryan was good at his job, which was why I promoted him twice since he joined the company. Before you go, I said as we wrapped up, I hear congratulations are in order. He beamed. Thanks. Yes. She finally said yes after I asked for the 3rd time. He chuckled. Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. We're planning the wedding for next spring, and I was hoping to take 2 weeks off for a honeymoon in the Maldives. I don't see that being a problem. Your team is solid, I replied. I didn't catch your fiancé's name? Amber Collins. We've been together about 2 years now. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of them on a yacht, champagne. Glasses raised to the sunset. She's amazing, runs her own boutique marketing firm. I kept my expression neutral, though my heart pounded against my ribs. Amber Collins, the girl who had once told me I would never amount to anything, now engaged to one of my executives. She's from my hometown, actually, I said casually. Westlake. Ryan's eyes widened. No way. What a small world. She mentioned growing up there. Were you friends? We knew each other, I said, understating the 2 years we'd dated, the promises we'd made, the future we'd planned, until she decided I wasn't part of her upward trajectory. That's incredible. Actually, we're heading to our high school reunion. This weekend. You should say hello if you're going. I might do that, I replied, the gears in my mind already turning. I hadn't planned on attending the reunion, had RSVP'd no months ago. But now, after Ryan left, I stared out at the Chicago skyline, thinking about the girl who had laughed when I told her I'd own a building like this someday. The girl who had chosen a business major with a trust fund over the scholarship kid with big dreams. I picked up my phone and called my assistant. Cancel my meetings for Friday and book me a flight to Westlake. I've decided to attend my high school reunion. After all, as I hung up, I wondered if Amber had any idea that the man she was planning to marry worked for the boy she had once deemed unworthy. Life had a strange way of coming full circle, and for once, I was looking forward to returning to my past. Amber's. Fiancé weaved through the crowd toward us, his expression brightening when he spotted her. I felt an odd sensation in my chest, not jealousy exactly, but something more complex. Ryan, darling, there you are. Amber called out, her diamond engagement ring catching the light as she waved. Ryan Henderson kissed her cheek before turning. To the group, sorry I'm late. The meeting ran longer than expected. The Mitchell board doesn't let you off easy, does it? Amber said with a laugh, then turned to me. Ryan works for this absolutely brilliant tech company. He's their director of strategic partnerships. Is that so? I kept my expression neutral. Blake was just telling us about his career, Amber continued, the pause suggesting something minimal. We went to school together, Ryan. Ryan's eyes widened in recognition. Wait, Blake Mitchell? From Westlake? Before I could answer, Amber jumped in. Yes, we were actually dating for a while in high school. Before I met Jason in college, she laughed lightly. Blake had all these big dreams about starting a tech company, Ryan's voice trailed off, his complexion paling slightly as realization dawned. He looked at me more carefully now, recognition replacing confusion. You're not ... I extended my hand. Good to see you outside the office, Ryan. The silence that fell over our little circle was absolute. Amber's smile froze, her eyes darting between Ryan and me. You two know each other? She asked. Her voice higher than normal. Ryan cleared his throat. Amber, this is Blake Mitchell, my CEO, the founder of Mitchell Innovations. I watched as Amber processed this information, her perfectly composed facade cracking slightly. The champagne flute in her hand tilted dangerously. "Your CEO?" she repeated, as if the words might change their meaning. "But that's not possible." "I tried to tell you," Ryan said quietly. "Remember when I mentioned my boss was a self-made billionaire who built his company from nothing? That's Blake." Several of our former classmates were openly staring, now whispering behind their hands. Jessica's mouth had literally dropped open. "But you never mentioned his name," Amber said to Ryan, her voice strained. "You never asked," Ryan replied simply. I could see the calculations happening behind Amber's eyes, reconciling the boy she deemed unworthy with the man who now held significant power over her fiancé's career. "Well," she said finally, forcing a bright smile, "isn't this a wonderful surprise? We have so much catching up to do, Blake." The change in her tone was jarring from condescension to an almost desperate warmth. I'd seen it before in business meetings, when people realized they'd underestimated me. "Actually," I said, checking my watch, "I was just about to step out for some air. Ryan, would you mind joining me? There's something about the Nakamura account I wanted to discuss." "Of course," Ryan replied professionally, though I could see the tension in his shoulders. As we turned to leave, Amber caught Ryan's arm. "Darling, I thought we agreed no business talk tonight." "It'll just take a minute," he assured her, though his eyes held a question as he looked at me. I nodded slightly to Amber. "Don't worry, I'll bring him right back." As we walked away, I could feel her gaze burning into my back, and for the first time since walking into the reunion, I felt the weight of the past lifting. The tables had turned, but the game wasn't over yet. "Ryan?" And I stepped onto the hotel's terrace, the cool night air a welcome relief from the tension inside. Chicago's skyline glittered in the distance, a constellation of human ambition. "I had no idea," Ryan said immediately, running a hand through his hair. "Blake, I swear, if I'd known about your history with Amber—" I raised a hand to stop him. "This isn't about your job, Ryan." He exhaled slowly. "Thank you. But still, this is ... complicated. Life usually is." I leaned against the stone railing. "How much has Amber told you about her past?" Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "She mentioned growing up here, being popular in school, the usual stuff. She never really talked about ex-boyfriends." "We were together for 2 years," I said quietly. "From sophomore year until prom night senior year, when she broke up with me in front of everyone." Ryan winced. "What happened?" "She got accepted to Northwestern with a partial scholarship. I got a full ride to MIT. She said long distance wouldn't work, but the truth came out at prom. She didn't want to be tied to some poor kid with delusions of grandeur, while she was networking with Chicago's elite." The memories still stung, though not in the way it once had. Time and success had dulled the edge of that humiliation. "That doesn't sound like the Amber I know," Ryan said, though doubt had crept into his voice. "People change," I conceded. "Or maybe they just show different faces to different people." Inside, through the glass doors, I could see Amber watching us, anxiety evident in her posture. She'd gathered a few friends around her, gesturing animatedly as she spoke. "She's probably telling them I'm firing you as we speak," I observed. Ryan laughed nervously. "Are you?" "No. You're good at what you do. That's all that matters to me." He studied me for a moment. "You really have changed from the guy she described on the drive here." That caught my attention. "What did she say?" "That you were sweet but insecure. Always talking about making it big someday, but never actually doing anything about it." He looked embarrassed. "She said she felt sorry for you." The words should have hurt, but instead, I felt a strange sense. of peace. Amber was still living in the past, defining me by who I had been, not who I'd become. Ryan, I said, do you love her? He seemed surprised by the question. Yes, she's driven, intelligent, beautiful. When we're together, it feels right. I nodded slowly. Then that's what matters. Not high school drama from a decade ago. So what happens now? He asked. Now we go back inside, have a drink, and you introduce your fiancé to your boss properly. Fresh start. As we turned to re-enter the ballroom, Ryan paused. Can I ask you something? Did you ever think about looking her up? After you made it? To show her she was wrong about you? I considered the question. In the early days of my success, I'd fantasized about it showing up in a luxury car, proving my worth to the girl who dismissed me. But as my company grew, those thoughts had faded. No, I answered truthfully. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Ryan nodded appreciatively. That's why you're the boss. We stepped back into the light of the ballroom, where Amber was waiting, her composure restored, but her eyes watchful. The night was young, and the past was about to collide with the present in ways none of us could have anticipated. As Ryan and I returned to the ballroom, Amber broke away from her cluster of friends to intercept us. Her smile was fixed, her eyes calculating. Everything okay, boys? She asked, looping her arm through Ryan's possessively. Just catching up, Ryan replied, his tone carefully neutral. Blake and I were discussing some business. Well, I hope. That's all settled now. She turned to me with manufactured warmth. Blake, I can't believe I didn't recognize you earlier. You've changed so much. Around us, our former classmates weren't even pretending not to eavesdrop. What had been Amber's moment of triumph, publicly mocking the boy she'd discarded, transformed into something entirely different. People change, I said, echoing my words to Ryan. Some more than others. Amber laughed a little too brightly. We were just kids back then. So dramatic about everything. I remember, I said. Quietly, like prom night. Her smile faltered for just a second. Ancient history. Funny thing about history, I replied. It has a way of shaping the present. The DJ announced the start of dancing, and couples began moving toward the center of the ballroom. Amber seized the opportunity. Ryan, let's dance, she said, pulling him toward the dance floor. Blake, we'll catch up more later, but Ryan didn't move. Actually, I think we should clear the air now. Blake told me about your history together. Amber's smile disappeared entirely. Did he? And what exactly did he tell you? Enough, Ryan sighed, his voice gentle but firm. Why didn't you ever mention you two dated? It was high school, she hissed, dropping all pretense. It wasn't serious. Serious enough that you remembered every detail about me 10 years later, I observed, including my delusions of grandeur. Ryan looked at Amber questioningly. You told me on the drive here that he was someone to feel sorry for. Amber's face flushed. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? Ryan pressed. She stopped, regrouped. Blake and I weren't compatible. He was focused on his tech dreams, and I was practical. I needed someone established, someone with connections. Someone like Jason from Northwestern? I asked. How did that work out? Her eyes flashed. That's none of your business. And yet my career was apparently still your business tonight, I replied, keeping my voice level. Interesting. Our standoff was interrupted by Megan Torres, who approached with a determined expression. Blake, there you are. I've been hoping to talk to you. I heard your company is revolutionizing accessible technology for education. I smiled gratefully at Megan, remembering how she'd been one of the few kind faces during my difficult years at Westlake. That's right. We've been developing affordable tablets for underserved school districts. That's amazing, Megan said. Sincerely. I'm a teacher now, and the digital divide is real. We should talk, I said. I'm always looking for educator input on our products. Amber watched this exchange with narrowed eyes. When Megan moved away, she turned to me, voice low and urgent. What are you playing at, Blake? If this is some revenge thing, not everything is about you, Amber, I said quietly. I came here tonight to reconnect with old friends, not to dwell on old wounds. But you're Ryan's boss, she insisted. That can't be a coincidence. Ryan interjected. Actually, it is. I had no idea you two knew each other until tonight. And now? Amber demanded, looking between us. What happens now that Blake holds your career in his hands? My future is tied to yours, Ryan. Did you think about that during your little heart-to-heart outside? The naked calculation in her voice seemed to surprise Ryan. Is that all you're worried about? My job security? Of course not, she backtracked quickly. I'm just being realistic. Blake and I have history, complicated history. History that you've been misrepresenting, Ryan pointed out. You told me he was a dreamer who never followed through. The man employs over 5,000 people. I watched the realization dawn. On Amber's face, she had miscalculated badly, not just 10 years ago, but tonight as well. The narrative she had constructed was unraveling, and for once, she wasn't controlling the story. The remainder of the evening unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Amber retreated to regroup, leaving Ryan and me to circulate among our former classmates. Word had spread quickly Blake Mitchell, the overlooked scholarship kid, had returned as a tech mogul, the boss of Amber Collins' Fiancé. I found myself genuinely enjoying conversations with people who had barely noticed me in high school, not because they were suddenly impressed by my success, but because adulthood had smoothed many of the sharp edges of adolescence. We were all just people now, with careers and mortgages and life experiences that had humbled us in different ways. Near midnight, as the reunion was winding down, I found a quiet moment alone at the bar. The bartender had just handed me a scotch when I sensed someone slide onto the stool beside me. You always did prefer to watch from the sidelines, Amber said, signaling for a drink of her own. Some things don't change, I agreed. She was quiet for a moment, turning her engagement ring around her finger. Ryan's in the restroom. I wanted to talk to you alone. About? About us. About what happened. She took a deep breath. I was cruel to you at prom. I've known that for years. I studied her face, searching for sincerity. Why bring it up? Now? Because seeing you tonight forced me to confront it, she admitted. I told myself I was doing you a favor by ending things, that we wanted different futures. But the truth is, I was scared. Of what? Of failing. Of not being enough. She laughed humorlessly. The irony is, I was the one who wasn't enough. For you, wasn't I? I couldn't see your potential. Couldn't believe in you the way you believed in yourself. I sipped my scotch, letting her words settle between us. We were kids, Amber. We made decisions based on what we thought we wanted. And now? She asked. What do you want now, Blake? The question hung in the air, layered with unspoken implications. Peace, I answered honestly. Success wasn't what I thought it would be, just like I imagine your life hasn't turned out exactly as you planned either. She looked down at her drink. No, it hasn't. My marketing firm is struggling. I've been putting on a brave face, but the truth is, I'm barely keeping it afloat. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? She challenged. After what I did to you? Yes, I said simply. Failure isn't something I'd wish on anyone, even someone who hurt me. She studied me with new eyes. You really have changed. We all have. That's what growing up is about. From across the room, I saw Ryan watching us, concern evident in his expression. He's a good man, I told Amber. Better than I was at his age. More balanced. I know, she said softly. I don't deserve him. That's not for me to judge, I replied. But if you love him, be honest with him. About everything, including your business. She looked surprised. Why are you giving me advice? Because holding on to the past only hurts the person holding it, I said. I learned that building my company, the best revenge isn't making someone else miserable. It's finding your own happiness. Ryan approached, and I stood to leave them alone. I should get going. Early flight tomorrow. Blake, Amber said, reaching for my hand. Thank you. For not being who I thought you were. I smiled. Thank you for being exactly who I needed you to be back then. If you hadn't broken my heart at prom, I might never have left town with something to prove. As I walked away, I heard Ryan ask her what we had talked about. I didn't stay to hear her answer. Some conversations were meant to remain private, bridges to a past that had shaped us but no longer defined us. Outside the hotel, I looked up. At the stars, the same stars I'd gazed at as a teenager, dreaming of a future bigger than Westlake could contain. Life had come full circle, bringing me back to where it all began, but I was no longer that boy with something to prove. Tomorrow, I would return to my glass tower in Chicago, to the company I'd built from nothing. But tonight had reminded me of an important truth. Success wasn't measured by the people you proved wrong, but by the person you became in the process of proving yourself right.